Disease Ghana initiative, an initiative which was started in 2017. And today I'm here to talk to you about rare diseases. I know you've been hearing a lot about other topics, African history, and today we are going into the medical field. It's a new concept, so you need to try and get as much as you can. I'll start with trying to understand with this term that we all know within the social perspective when we talk about orphans. When we talk about orphans within the social environment, we are talking about people who have lost their parents, and somebody has to assume responsibility or the system has to take the responsibility of providing some form of care for these people. Now, in the medical field, unfortunately, we have some diseases that are orphans. They are diseases that are considered rare. They do not affect a lot of people. They affect very few people. And because they don't affect a lot of people and they don't occur frequently, we do not pay attention to them. Our laws do not provide for them. The system does not care for them. And even when you come to school and we are talking about doing research, we are talking in the area of sample size. And these are diseases that, per the size, it is difficult to do research to even understand because their sample is very small. And so that is a group of diseases that I have passion and interest in providing support. So this is it, rare disease. It's a group of diseases that affect a small number of people. By definition, it has varied from location to location in terms of the numbers of what qualifies to be a rare disease. Africa, some way, somehow, we are always behind. We do not have a definition for what rare diseases are. Even though the concept of rare disease has existed for a very long time, and if you go to the US, for example, they have made several laws to protect and provide support to persons living with rare diseases. Within the EU, they have formed a whole sector that looks into rare diseases. But unfortunately, Africa does not have a definition. And because of that, the main reason is because we do not have data to back what rare diseases are or which diseases qualifies to be put into the category of rare diseases. But in terms of definition, we are generally talking about diseases that affect small number of population. From a reviewed article that we saw, that across the globe, it's been defined as diseases that affect 5 to 76 cases per every 100,000 people. You can understand how small these diseases are. These diseases are mostly chronic. People are born with it and they will live with it for the rest of their life. Not just chronic, but they also cause a lot of disabilities. Not just structurally seeing them disabled, but also functionally, they cannot do a lot for themselves. There are about 7,000 diseases that have been recorded. Individually, the numbers are small, but collectively, if you put them together, even if we have 3 people in each disease group, we are talking about a large group of people. The whole world, about 450 million people have been known to be living with rare diseases. And that will be the third, if you put everybody living with rare disease together, that will be the third most populated country in this world. 450 million people. If you come to Ghana, there's a global statistic saying that in a population, there will be a 10% that are affected by rare disease. Ghana's population is almost 30 million. And so we are talking about 3 million people being affected by, estimated 3 million people being affected by rare disease. If we put that group together, that will be the third most populated region in Ghana. This is a serious issue. It's a huge public health issue, but we have been made to believe that the problems that affect Africa is just HIV, tuberculosis, and other HIV, TB, and we are talking about poverty, war, and other things. Meanwhile, people live with these diseases, and they live amongst us, and we are not doing anything to protect them. We are not doing anything to serve their needs. 10% of the world population, I said, are affected, and it's because we don't have surveillance data. African, not even a single country has been able to set up surveillance for rare diseases to report how many people are affected. And then, because of that, we are not able to implement any policy. We are not able to plan anything. We are not able to decide how the market is. I'll talk about the rare disease market as time goes. I'll tell you how much money is being made within the rare disease space annually. And by 2024, we'll tell you how much money that can be made from rare disease, within the rare disease space. And Africa is not, we are not doing anything to capture the market. 80% of rare diseases, majority are caused by genetics. It is not the fault of those who suffer. We have inherited it. It is people inheriting genes which are recessive. Each one of us have our own genetic makeup. As we marry and intermarry and we are giving birth, we are forming new genes. That makes us unique. It's our genes that tells us how tall we are and how short we are and how fair and how dark we will be. Everything about us, medically, biologically, is decided by the genes. However, while these formations are going on, there are some mutations which causes diseases, and they also come about. And for some people, they are unlucky. They inherit genes that cause rare diseases. It's not their fault. It is due to genetic makeups. And to be able to diagnose it, we need to be able to do genetic tests. But where is the facility? Where is the resource? One genetic test alone costs millions of dollars. Where are we getting it? How are people going to get their diagnosis? We've not thought about these. And that is the state. Majority of them start from childhood. I said, because you're genetic, we will be born. People are born with it. And so they live with it for the rest of their life. 30%, 35% are due to, 35% of rare diseases lead to the under 5 mortality rate. We want to be able to save children. In Africa, I've not heard a country that has a newborn screening program to screen people who are born to have rare diseases. In Ghana, we've been fortunate to start with sickle cell screening, and then we are zooming into other areas. But within Africa, there's nothing going. So we are losing a lot of people. Even diseases that we could save, have treatment, we are not saving these children. And so it is very, very difficult to take care of people with rare diseases within our context. The biggest challenge is that even within the medical field, until I came across a patient with a rare disease, I had not heard anything about rare disease. The conditions that we were exposed to are the common conditions. And this is how our medical system has been set, that if you hear the hoofbeats, always think it's a horse. But the zebra also has a hoofbeat, right? That is how we've been made to think. Sometimes it's a zebra. Sometimes it is a rare disease. The rare diseases present like common diseases. If you are in the media, you hear about the musician Sia talking about her rare disease, EDS. And it presents like normal disease. If you have EDS, you run from one hospital to the other, one clinician to the other, and they are likely to diagnose you with something else. But it's a connective tissue disorder, and we don't know. This is the journey for a rare disease patient. It's an odyssey. It's a challenge to find a specialist who has knowledge and understands your condition. It's the biggest hurdle. Even when you have the specialist, to even get the test that can diagnose your condition is one of the biggest challenges. So people spend, on the average, 4 to 8 years looking for diagnosis, going from one facility to the other, moving from one hospital, one center, one clinician, getting multiple misdiagnoses, and getting treated for other things, before finally they will be lucky to get some specialists who might have trained somewhere else to see that, oh, I saw this case while I was somewhere, and it could be this condition. This is the challenge. This is a global statistics. This is a data research that has been done in other countries where we believe they have the infrastructure to take care of people. And people take 4 to 8 years. How about Africa? How about Ghana? It will take more. For most people, they remain undiagnosed forever. And so what are the treatment options? While the clinician has been able to diagnose, what are the options for treatment? Most rare diseases do not have treatment. So what do we do with them? So in the US, they passed the law, which is the Orphan Drug Act, where the US government gives grants for companies to develop medicines. And since then, it's been seen that about 730 medicines have been developed for rare diseases. And it's not even available for patients here in Africa to access. And it's expected that by 2024, $242 billion will be made from the Orphan Drug Act. This money, where is Africa and how are we going to benefit? We have patients here as well. We have to start thinking in that sense and think that where will African companies, where will African industries be in this space? The cost of treatments are high. Patients spend hours traveling. What we have experienced, we send patients always out of Ghana. What do? We mobilize money here. We raise funds right here and send patients out to get a treatment. Which economy are we enriching? Which experts are we building? Our local experts are left behind. Our centers are not getting patients to handle. That is the problem. We need to start thinking, how can we build our own industry? The mental health aspect cannot be ignored. I came in the field because I'm a mental health professional. I saw a family with huge mental health needs, and I had to intervene. And that drew my interest. It is huge, not finding diagnosis, not knowing what is wrong with you, and living with it every day. You report to the hospital, they tell you they don't know what is wrong with you, and you have to deal with it. And when you have a diagnosis, there's no treatment. It's a huge battle. It's a huge battle that we go through. And the patients, where do they go to? They don't have groups. Because they are few, 1, 2. They feel isolated. And they have no one talking for them. So this is the problem. And then my interest came. I said, this is a huge problem. And how? I realized we need a solution. We need a solution. And the solution should not be in 20 years. It should be now. We need to intervene now. So I came out with a Rare Disease Ghana initiative, which is a non-profit network made up of family, the patients, which is the family network. We have the support groups that represent them, which is the Genetic Alliance. We have the professionals who are interested in rare diseases, and then we have the corporate bodies who are investing in rare diseases. We built this network. And over the period, we've been able to set the platform to address the gaps in the rare disease continuum, beginning from the knowledge, increasing knowledge of rare diseases, to leading advocacy, where, as I talk to you now, FDA Ghana has adopted a new guideline for registering orphan drugs for rare disease patients. And then we have talked to government leaders, government policies. We are representing at the African Alliance, we are representing at the Rare Disease International, making sure that patients in Ghana's needs are served. We have developed care coordination where we link patients to, we've mapped out all the resources within the country, and we know which specialists and which cooperation are there. So this is just few of the conditions that I would like to talk to you about. This is one of the rare diseases called poencephaly. We have another one called Waardenburg syndrome, and you can see from the blue eyes of the children. We have another one called MPS. We have this child who was born without the anus, and we had to reconstruct the anus. We have ichthyosis, and you see that mark in there, someone trying to kill the child because they think it's caused by a gift from the gods to punish them also, trying to kill. These are some of the socio-cultural issues we have to deal with. And then we have Tricia Collins and osteogenesis imperfecta. This lady, I'm sure you have seen her on the news and everywhere. And we have the common ones being Down syndrome. These are more that we have recorded within our population. And so how will we be saving the world? Investing in rare disease helps to promote the Sustainable Development Goals. These are people who are neglected and marginalized within the health sector. So, and then the cost is huge. If you have a rare disease, most families lose their job because they have to spend time moving from one hospital to the other. They can't balance their work life. They start becoming poor. And that's one of the goals. If we do that, we are helping to relieve them, helping to promote good health, and promoting quality education as the children will go to school, and we need to find out how they will also benefit from the education system. We need to talk about gender equality, because most of the care, usually from what we know, the men run away. They are not bold enough to face it. It's left with the woman, and she has to take care of all the business. Industries, new industries growing up. We have talked about companies now into precision medicine, gene therapy, new technologies, Microsoft coming in the space, and you see a lot of industries growing up within the rare disease space. We talk about inequalities, as I've already mentioned. And then it's so at the rare disease level that you see people collaborating and partnering to achieve the same goal, because the condition affects the head. It's a gene, it affects the head, it affects other organs, and you see everybody trying to come on board to solve the same problem. So my last message, where are we? Rare disease is everywhere. It's with us. It might not happen now, it might happen in the future. I'm not a prophet. It's because these are coming from the genes. And as we move, as we go higher, if we don't take action, most of them are recessive genes. They may become dominant, and they may become epidemic. It may become a big issue. We need to start taking action now. And the only action we can do is to invest in systems, a system that will take care of people should it happen. So we say that rare disease is everywhere. The disease may be rare, but one thing that is never rare is to be able to instill some form of hope in the people who are affected. Hope is free. You don't buy hope. You can help people to get hope. And so we can help moving together to build a better, healthier world. We have to ensure, to achieve that, we have to ensure that everybody is served. Whether you have a common disease or you have a rare disease, we have to ensure that everybody will be served, and we have to make sure that no one is left behind. This is something the world is saying, and we are also pushing it and say that let's make sure that nobody is left behind in health and in social setting. Let's make sure that no continent is left behind. Africa is way behind. We need to make sure that Africa gets there. Let's also make sure that no country is left behind. Thank you very much.